It's almost here, soldiers. We're officially in May, the month in which one of the most anticipated games of this year finally releases. That's right, Minecraft Dungeons. And Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. Yeah, that one too. Okay, jokes aside, with us getting closer and closer to launch, Nintendo and Monolith Soft have been ramping up marketing and details in the game as well as Future Connected. With this, we've gotten a few new details through the Japanese Twitter account, and not one, not two, not three, but 7 new videos with new details in the combat, the world, as well as Future Connected, including a 6-minute overview trailer. On top of that, we've gotten even more through the Japanese website. So yeah, we've got a bit of a long one here, so let's recap all the news that came out over the last few days. Also, spoilers ahead for Xenoblade's plot and world. So click away if you don't want to know anything about the original Xenoblade in terms of plot and the environments that you go explore. Alright, let's mosey. Before we head to the trailers, let's look at the Japanese Xenoblade Twitter account, where they revealed a good bit about the game. The first one here we have is 2 pictures of the quests menu. Now, if you've played Xenoblade Chronicles, you know what this means. The red markers are side quests from NPCs, and the red marker with the white diamond around it is your main objective. The crown of course means you've completed them. However, what's going on at the top there? From what I can gather, you can now track certain side quests now, calling it an active quest, for much easier management in both the menu and around the world itself. This quest is for the old lady in Colony 9 where you need to deliver cookies. From what I can gather, aside from being able to track side quests now, there isn't actually too much new here in these screenshots. The menus do look much nicer now than the original though. Now, the next one is seriously a great quality of life change. In Definitive Edition, if you track a side quest, you can now see on the minimap where they are. To quote the Twitter account, if you set an active quest, we will guide you to your destination. This is a great change, this being for the cookies quest specifically. No more hunting down certain NPCs to find them after you complete a quest now, and getting lost or having to look up a wiki page. But on top of that, there's much more to the map now. The red dots show enemies and where they are on the map, the hand symbols are heart to heart, the green dots I believe are NPCs you can talk to, though don't quote me on that. This, to me, is an amazing change for Definitive Edition. The map in here also looks great. I'm pretty happy they decided to change it, as well as make it so you actually can enlarge it now. And then we see...
No! God, please, no! 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 No!
Okay, jokes aside, we see Juju in the Colony 6 restoration. In the menu, you can see which restoration parts you can do, as well as the materials that you need in order to complete it. Overall, I'm excited to do this again. I liked seeing Colony 9 actually advance over time because of me exploring around the world. Now, if only it was led by Otharon and not Juju, then it'd be perfect. We've got 2 more pictures here, one being of the affinity chart. Of course, like the original, you can see the overall bonds that some people have with each other over time as you complete certain side quests, as well as see your progression with certain parts of Bionis and Mykonos as well. Now, in the original, you could always see the times that you could go find that NPC and their town that they were in, for example, Colony 9 or Colony 6. However, which is a huge change, you can now see which items you actually can trade with them, as well as where they are specifically like landmarks. Again, this is a plain, great quality of life change from the original. I'm super happy with this. Finally, we've got...
Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
So this isn't too much, but we do have a few things here. First of all, Shirtless Stuntman. Secondly, we actually get a small look at gems here. It's great to see him again. Thirdly, and I've mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again for people who might have missed it, customization is going to be a new feature in DE. In Xenoblade Chronicles X, you could change your armor, of course, but you could also change the costumes of your character while keeping the stats of that armor. This didn't exist in the original Xenoblade Chronicles, however, it is going to be here in Definitive Edition. They're also going to be expanding upon it with the fact that you actually can change weapon skins too. So you can run around with, say, Ryan's Scrapdriver for the whole game, but have the stats of one of his late game weapons. This is, in my opinion, a really great addition. I love this. This is awesome. Having this option here is a great move, and I'm honestly ecstatic that they went this route. And finally, we move on to the videos. Let's go. We start with the first half or so of this video with the battle between Bionis and Mykonos, beautifully recreated here in DE. We've seen this before though, so nothing new. However, we then get the scene of Shulk and Ryan after leaving Tephra Cave, now in the Bionis knee, looking up at the 2 Titans' corpses. We get a good bit of gameplay from this point, starting off with Shulk, Ryan, and Charl running at the camera on Bionis leg, while the new reorchestrated Bionis leg theme plays. Then we get our first look at Sword Valley. First of all, Bionis' head looming over it looks honestly amazing to me. It really shows off the size of the 2 Titans extremely well. Secondly, Shulk in the game run by a Mechon in Sword Valley, this being the later Renov, from what I can tell. I'm excited to see more of Sword Valley. It was a personal favorite of mine in the original and a very memorable area. We then see the gang swimming through the waters of Aerith Sea. Sadly, from what I can see, the swimming does seem to be the same speed as the original, which, ugh. I'm hoping that it is faster in some way, maybe through a new armor upgrade or something. That'd be nice, because the swimming speed in the original, Jesus. We then see Shulk and Rhine, Shulk now with the Monado 2 climbing a massive ladder, which I believe leads to the Distant Fingertips secret area on the Fallen Arm. Side note, this looks beautiful. No signs of Machina yet though. And then, wow. So this is the group running along one of the many islands during Aerith Sea at nighttime with the meteor shower in the background. For me, this is just gorgeous. This was always a favorite set of mine in the original, and we're finally seeing it. I can't stop smiling. Next up, we get the group running along the bridge to the other side of Magna Forest with a view of Magna Falls in the background. We also can see the secret area right down there. Then the group back at Aerith Sea running along the shore that you first arrive at when you get to the area. Then the cliff near the Ether Mines with a small glimpse of Mechonis' leg. Then, finally, Ryan and Shulk looking back up at Bionis as they arrive on the knee. That's it for video 1, which mostly just showed the environments which just look plain gorgeous. When it comes down to the environments in DE, I really feel that Monolith simply just nailed the visual aspect of them. They're gorgeous in this. Now, the longest one, the 6-minute long overview video. Grab a snack, cause here we go. Our first scene here is of Ryan and Shulk as they make it out of Tephra Cave, staring at Mechonis now, but with the dialogue here unlike the last trailer, as the reorchestrated Engage the Enemy plays in the background. As we once again see the battle between Bionis and Mechonis and their corpses, we also see a little bit more of the Mechon invasion on Colony 9. We get a bit more of the scene of Shulk and Ryan telling Fiora to get to the residential district when the Mechon invade Colony 9. And I want to ask something here for the comment section. Is it just me, or does Shulk look a little bit better here? I don't know, maybe it's just the lighting, but I think Shulk here honestly looks a bit better than in other scenes that they've shown. Maybe it's just me though. We get the scene of Fiora's death, of course, but the full scene is actually available online. I'm not joking, Monolith actually released it. I'll link it down below. We get Shulk with the second instance of a vision in Colony 9 for a bit, and then the cutscene of Shulk getting Monado's speed on the battle with Zord on Bionis' leg. We then see Fiora with the scene of her going into Tephra Cave with Ryan and Shulk, as well as her and Shulk at Outlook Park. Then we have Ryan. We get a fun little preview of the scene where Shulk gets the Monado shield during Tephra Cave, which I think actually looks a little bit different here in DE. I could be wrong, but I believe in the original it was just a simple yellow aura surrounding the characters. We then get Dunban with the scene of him and the others at Prison Island when he dodges attacks from Metalface, and a small preview of the scene at Sword Valley with a battle with Mumkar. We then have Charla, during the scene with Monado's speed first, and then the scene in the Ether Mine when she finds Otharon. Then the High Antia princess herself, Melia. I believe the scene we get of her here is with a fight with the Telethia in Magna Forest, though I could be wrong. Then the Hero Pawn, Ricky. First off, during the Hero Pawn celebration, then during the Telethia invading Colony 6 near the end of the game. Then near the end of the game once again inside Bionis' heart. They're really showing a lot of endgame stuff here. We have some repeating shots we saw in the last video, so I'll go ahead and skip over those. We get a small look at Bionis' knee, a destroyed Mechon in the Fallen Arm, and then I believe Colony 6. We have Shulk and the others running through Bionis' interior for a bit. Not a fan of this area in the original, but it does look nice here. We have the group then swimming in the waters of Aerith Sea with a couple of lunar Gradies off to the side. Then, our first look at Alchemoth, albeit a small one, and I only have one thing to say. Oh dear lord, please add more skip travel points to this area. I love Alchemoth, but not when I have to walk 4 minutes to get to a side quest. Anywho, glad to see it anyway. Then, Sword Valley at nighttime, with Ether from Bionis coming out of Sword Valley. This area, I believe at least, is Prison Island, though don't quote me on that. I think this is when you enter it to go fight Dixon. Then the group fights a unique monster, Mechon, on the way to the observation platform. From what I can tell, unique monsters are now labeled by golden borders at the top. Side note, I still hold a fondness for the original game's UI, but I really think this UI looks a lot better. The character portraits and the chain attack gauge are now much smaller, so it doesn't feel as cluttered as before. But also, the more simplistic and colorful look to the whole thing just really looks a lot better in my opinion. I love the original game's UI, but this is just a lot better looking. Of course, we can see the arts menu there on the bottom. For Shulk, he has Shadow Eye, Backslash, Slit Edge, Light Heal, and Stream Edge. Also, if you press up on the D-pad, you get access to your Monado arts. There's also the lure option when you press down on the D-pad. They start the battle and they start fighting. We see them demonstrating the use of arts and how they work, and they're fighting the, I believe, Violent Aldante unique monster. Also, if you pay close attention, as Shulk moves around, you can see both Backslash and Slit Edge having exclamation points above the icon. This is the game telling the player when to use certain arts in an opportune moment. For example, when Shulk moves behind it, use Backslash. When he's at the side, use Slit Edge. This is good for newer players, or players who maybe need a bit of a refreshing on how certain arts actually work. The game also has the words chance appear on the character you're controlling when that pops up too, in case you missed the exclamation point prompt. we see Shulk, Dunman, Amelia, and Valak Mountain fighting what I believe is a Costa Aeris. Shulk now has more arts: Shaker Edge, which is his Days art, Air Slash, his second break art, and Battle Soul. Then we see them back at Aerith C fighting a Pulse or Luga. We also see when they topple an enemy, the exclamation point pops up for Shulk's Days art too. So it's not just directional arts like say Backslash and Slit Edge, it's also status effect arts for things like Topple and Daze. Now, if someone can help me out down below, I don't remember what this area is or this enemy. I think I know, but I'm not confident in saying it, in case of some misinformation being spread around. We then finally get our first look at chain attacks. When the 3 bars in the top left are full, you can commence a chain attack. Now, you can see here when Shulk does Air Slash, it now immediately goes to Dunman. Chain attacks compared to the original are much faster than before, almost instantaneous to the next character as soon as you hit that art. Also, we actually see Dunman's arts here. Now the first two, I honestly don't know, even after doing a bit of research. The pink full one though is his break art, which I believe is Headshaker. The green fist is his topple art, Steel Strike. Of course, there is his awesome talent art. There's also Gale Slash, Spirit Breath, and I believe Serene Heart and Blinding Blossom in that order. The player uses Steel Strike and we move to Ricky. His arts here are Happy Happy, Play Dead, though I'm not sure about the third art, apologies. The fourth is Lurgy. His talent art Steel is almost ready as well, and his other arts are Verninate, Sneaky, and Say Sorry, as well as Tantrum. We also see the vision mechanic in battles, which has gotten a pretty big visual overhaul. It now appears to the right of the enemy bar on the top, and the actual look of it is much different compared to the original. Overall, a good visual upgrade. Sadly, it still interrupts music. Thanks, Monolith. We also see them fighting the Mechon M71, as well as an enemy I believe in Magna Forest. Though don't quote me on that, I don't really remember where this is entirely. Charla, Ricky, and Ryan are then fighting an Aerith Ansel, and we see Charla's arts. In order, we have Metal Blast, Tranquilizer, Shield Bullet, and Heal Round. There's also her talent art. Better hope that gun isn't Scorching Hot. The other one I believe is Heal Blast, Thunder Bullet, and I believe Cure Bullet. We then get a small preview of the game running along the cliffside of the Aether Mines, as well as Nighttime Sartorial Marsh, or as I like to call it, So Beautiful It Makes My Eyes Water. There's also a bit more of Alchemoth, and the landmark menu has even gotten a bit of a visual overhaul too. The game is also auto-saving there in the bottom left. Then we get our first look at one of the Magna Forest's secret areas, the cliffside to Magna Falls to be specific. This menu has also gotten a visual overhaul. Then we see... Oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Yes, the Territorial Rotbard, aka Monolith trolling every new player. You're going out having fun doing these side quests, then all of a sudden you get your ass fucking reamed to you by Donkey Kong on steroids. Anywho, we see the group running by a unique monster on Bionis Leg, the Armored Rockwell. As well as this, we see them running by one of the hardest enemies in the game, the Final Marcus. One thing I like as well is that the enemy's overall power and category is actually shown by the color and effects. Sometimes unique monsters are gold, easy enemies are blue, and these super type boss enemies are red with things like lightning on them. It's a fun detail. We also see them fighting another unique monster on Bionis Leg, the Clifftop Byron, with Shulk and Dunman being insta-killed. We then see the group fighting a massive Brog enemy in Magna Forest. As they defeat the Brog, we see something I'm actually pretty happy to see back. Chests. In Xenoblade 2, when you defeated an enemy, money and such would just sort of fly out of the enemy and you'd have to go collect it. Everything being in a chest, while it does require another step, it's just a lot better in my opinion. This one in particular dropping a gold chest with a unique weapon for Ricky, an S-rank chest piece, and unique footwear as well as normal drops. We also see our first look at the heart-to-heart system. If you don't know, when you get to a certain affinity between two party members, you get access to what's known as a heart-to-heart. In this, you can choose certain dialogue options to gain more affinity between both party members, and you learn more about the two of them or something that's happening in the story. It's great. Sadly, unlike Xenoblade 2, it doesn't seem like these are voiced, which is upsetting, but perfectly fine in my book. We also see the skip travel menu, where you can skip travel to certain areas or landmarks you've been to in the past. In particular here, they travel to the Spring of Grief in Tephra Cave. We then see the group traveling through Colony 9 together and accepting certain side quests. Of course, when you accept side quests from NPCs, they get added to that area's affinity chart. So here, you see the relationship from this Nopon to this Hom and so on and so forth. Say if there's a certain side quest that allows you to make a choice that changes the outcome of the quest's story too, the relationship between those NPCs can actually get better or worse. We're back at some story stuff now, and we get the scene of Shulk obtaining the Monado Speed, and we get a small scene of Sori and Antiqua summoning Zanza on Prison Island. We get a small glimpse of the Aethermine stuff, and then the war between the Mechon, Homs, Hyantia, and Nopon in the second battle of Sword Valley. Then Ryan holding Charla, I believe from the Gato fight. Then, after all this time, we finally see Dixon. Jesus, everyone in this game is getting a major glow, but I feel like Dixon is actually the most consistent from the original to DE, in my opinion, next to Dunman. He looks great. Then we finally see Egil, or more specifically, Goldface. We also see a tiny bit of Vinea too, though she's only on screen for about half a second. Then Albus, I believe, on Bionic Leg after the Telethia attack on Metal Face and the Mechon after the Ether Mine. Then Melia holding Ricky after her brother's death in Bionis Heart. Then Ryan during the battle with Dixon on Prison Island, Dunman in Valak Mountain, and Shulk unlocking the Monado 2. Next up we have the group falling from Mechonis after the first battle with Egil, and the High Antia turning into Telethia. Nothing really new after that, and we're finally done. Or are we? For the next minute we get some more details on Future Connected, the new epilogue in DE. We see Shulk and Melia interacting with two Nopon here, a pink one and a green one, though we'll have more details on these characters later. Side note, just stopping here, I love the design for Shulk and Melia here. I think this look fits Shulk perfectly, and Melia is, I'm gonna say it, I like this more than her original design. It's just really good looking. We see the portal from the last trailer opening up over Alchemoth and a High Antia woman holding a young High Antian boy. Recognize that woman? Yep, that's Tyrea. If you don't know, Tyrea was a servant of her mother Umea and attacked Melia in the High Antia tomb during Alchemoth. However, after that battle, she kinda disappeared. She reappears much later though in the only voiced side quest in the game. After a fight with the Telethia, who turns out to be Umea, Tyrea leaves the party and Dunman says that their paths will cross one day. However, that was the only thing she actually had in the original game. However, now she's residing on Bionis' shoulder. It's really great to see her again. Sadly though, not many details have come out about her or the boy she's with. But really, seeing Tyrea again is really cool, and I'm happy to see her. We see Shulk, Melia, the two Nopon, and I think Tyrea dodging a beam at Alchemoth, and then a High Antia figure walking out as soon towards Shulk and the others with a sword. We see Shulk activate this new Monado looking sword, even though it very clearly isn't. Shulk is then crouched, and we see this freaky looking shadow thing with orange lights roaring at him. Now we see Shulk, Melia, and this green Nopon fighting an enemy here on Bionis' shoulder. And yes, these two Nopon fight alongside you. There's also these other Nopon with them, but we'll get to them later. We see the same Nopon I just mentioned in this sort of timed sequence where they have territorial rot barts running along the enemy with a damage bonus gauge in the bottom right. We'll get a bit more details on this later, but just know that this is sort of a powerful attack caused by these Nopon during battles. We see a bit more of Tyrea with her weapon, then Shulk, Melia, and the two Nopon looking at Alchemoth, now residing over the shoulder. After all that is the 6-minute long overview. It's definitely a lot, but we're still not done. We've got a few more videos, including stuff from the website. Now, there are quite a few scenes in this next video that we've seen before, so I'm just going to go ahead and skip over those for time's sake. The first thing we see here is Shulk talking about the Monado with Dixon and how he's talking about the multi-layered glass, and Dunman using it during the Battle of Sword Valley. We get a small preview of the title screen with the Monado at night, and god damn, this looks beautiful. We see Dunman and Shulk talking in Colony 9 after Shulk uses the Monado for the first time and gets his first vision. Then a bit more of the Mechon invasion of Colony 9, where Shulk stabs Metal Face in his, well, face. And that's it. Yeah, this was fairly small, but we're still not done. After all, the Japanese Xenoblade DE website has a bit more info in the game, including some more screenshots. Let's go. The battle page in particular has the last few videos we're going to look at, these being related to battles. Let's do it. We have Shulk, Ryan, and Charlotte fighting off a Mechon on Bionis' shoulder here, and this video is mostly here to showcase the use of Break, Topple, and Daze arts. Shulk uses Stream Edge, the AI version of Ryan follows up the Topple art, which lets them deal more damage to the Mechon. That one is pretty small, so let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This next one showcases a bit more of chain attacks, this one against another Mechon with the same party as before. As you can see, Air Slash and Slittage are labeled here because Shulk is from the side of the Mechon. Again, the transition from Shulk to Ryan to Charlotte is extremely quick, to speed up the process of the chain attacks compared to the original. Ryan follows up with Topple and Charlotte with Daze. You press B at a certain moment when you fulfill some requirements, and you can extend that chain attack. Shulk follows up with Air Slash and destroys the Mechon, and we see the chain attack damage, and it also drops his silver chest. This next one here shows Shulk and the others fighting a Mechon M71 where Shulk gets Monado speed. This showcases the future aspect of the game. We see in the vision that the enemies would be attacking and killing Ryan if it isn't prevented, and we have 12 seconds to stop it. The player uses Monado's shield and changes the future, and now it only does 1 point of damage. Our last video here is from the Exploration tab on the website. This shows the group running in front of the territorial rot bard and it, well, reaming the player's asses. Of course, some enemies are aggressive in the wild, so keep an eye out. There's not too much in this page, but we do see Ricky in one of his armor sets as they show off the costume mechanic. The other one is the returning gem crafting system. I'm only excited for one thing, those damn voice lines when you're crafting. Now, our final stop here is on the future connected part of this page, but here's the thing. This whole thing is told through broken English via Google Translate. The translations I've gotten for this page come from Nintendo Everything's translations of it, which I'll be linking down below. Future Connected takes place 1 year after the events of the main game. The world is at peace, and all the different races are working together for restoration after the fall of Bionis and Mechonis. Shulk suggests at one point to Melia that they look for Alchemoth, the High Antia capital, and they hop aboard Junks to look for it. As they're searching for it, they get hit with a surprise attack that sends Junks crashing. It, of course, lands on the Bionis shoulder, an area not seen in the original game. In the area where the shoulder is, a strange mineral is causing land masses to float. I'd assume this is how the shoulder seems so high up, at least from what I can tell, since Bionis has fallen. I'd assume the shoulder itself is floating, though I could be wrong. Those two Nopon I mentioned earlier, their names are Kino and Nene, and while they're young, their fighting capabilities will put adults' skills to shame. Kino, the green one, is striving to be a hero for the sake of his father, but he's also very wary of strangers. Nene, the pink one, is Kino's adopted mother. She may look cute, but she's one deadly fighter. Of course, Shulk in the game will encounter many enemies on the way to the capital, but there's a big difference. With the Minato and Zanza gone, Shulk can no longer see the future, so you now need to be a lot more careful during these battles. The black fog enemy from this trailer is called a fog beast, and there's many more of them. They're not just powerful, but they emit waves that pull other enemies towards them, and they'll cause them to attack the party. These guys sound extremely interesting for fights, so I'm kind of excited to see more of them. Scattered throughout the shoulder are a team of Nopon Rangers or Surveyors. By befriending them and doing their requests, they'll assist you with their own skills and aid Shulk in the group with a powerful attack, which is the big cutscene thing we saw in the video. The game has a pretty good amount of new things for the battle system, making this so far pretty different from the originals. Now there are some screenshots here, though there's only one I really want to look at. On the shoulder, there's not just high Antia Nopon, but Hams and Machina as well. A bunch of species have taken refuge on the shoulder, which is very interesting. Sadly, the site doesn't mention Tyrea at all, so there's not much we know about her. But with that said, that's finally everything. So much news. But goddamn, it's gonna be pumped. We're officially in the month of Xenoblade DE, and I for one, can't wait. I'm waiting for this for close to about 6 years now, and it's finally almost here. So, with all that said and done, what do you all think? As we inch closer to the release, how have your thoughts been on all of this news? Let me know down below. Thank you all very much for watching, have a great night, signing off. Peace out, soldiers.